chance to accompany Mr. Davis on an important business trip presented itself as a golden opportunity, the kind that Emma had been waiting for since she started at the company. She had always seen him as a figure of success, someone whose influence had shaped much of the corporate landscape they navigated daily. His reputation for turning challenging negotiations into lucrative deals was legendary, and now she had the chance to learn from him directly. The idea filled her with a blend of excitement and nerves. Sitting across from Mr. Davis on the plane, Emma tried to balance her demeanour between eager and professional. He was going over his notes with a focus that made him seem almost unreachable in his concentration. Emma glanced at her own notes, her mind buzzing with strategies and statistics. She knew the importance of this meeting, not just for the company, but for her own career trajectory. It was a test, and she was determined not to fail. Mr. Davis suddenly looked up from his papers, catching her in her moment of introspection. "Nervous?" he asked, a slight smile breaking through his usually stoic expression. His ability to switch from intense focus to casual conversation was something Emma admired. She nodded, appreciating his attempt to lighten the mood. "It's good," he continued. "It means you care. Just use it to sharpen your focus. Remember, they need us as much as we need them." The conversation shifted from work to more general topics as the flight continued. Emma found herself relaxing a bit, buoyed by Mr. Davis's confidence and the casual way he spoke about complex deals and negotiations. He shared anecdotes from his early career, some of them highlighting mistakes and lessons learned. Emma listened intently, realizing that behind the corporate titan facade was a wealth of experiences and missteps that had shaped him. Landing in the bustling metropolis that would be their battleground for the next few days, the shift from theory to reality set in. They were here to clinch a deal that could mean significant growth for their company. The pressure was immense, but Emma felt a surge of readiness. The discussion on the plane had not only prepared her, but had also shifted her view of Mr. Davis. He wasn't just a boss, he was a mentor, perhaps even a collaborator in this high-stakes game. As they stepped off the plane and into the whirl of the busy airport, Emma felt the weight of the opportunity ahead. This trip wasn't just a professional assignment, it was a chance to step out from the background, to stand alongside someone like Mr. Davis and hold her own. The city around them pulsed with the promise and the challenge, a perfect backdrop to the coming days that would undoubtedly test her skills and resolve. Navigating through the crowds, they discussed their schedule, meetings lined up back to back, a dinner with potential partners, and a final negotiation session that would require all her focus. Mr. Davis's trust in her abilities was evident, and it bolstered her confidence. She was not just along for the ride, she was an integral part of the team, perhaps even pivotal to the success of the trip. Emma felt the complexity of her role expand with each step through the city. Every sight and sound seemed to remind her of what was at stake. The tall buildings, bustling traffic, and the faces of countless strangers, they all seemed to echo the pace and the pressure of her thoughts. But there was also an undercurrent of exhilaration, a sense of being at the centre of something important. She was part of the narrative of her company's growth, woven into the fabric of its story through her efforts and what would transpire over the next few days. As they reached their hotel, the setting sun cast a golden glow over the city, enveloping it in a light that felt full of promise. Emma looked up at the sky, then at the towering structure of their hotel, and felt a moment of profound clarity. This was her arena, her moment to shine. The journey had started with a flight, a simple conversation, but it would end with her having left her mark, having proved her worth in the unforgiving arena of high-stakes business negotiations. The night ahead was just the beginning, but Emma was ready, fueled by the knowledge, the pressure, and the potential of what was to come. The dinner setting was elegant, the kind of place where the clink of glasses and the murmur of multiple conversations blended into a symphony of dining excellence. As they took their seats, the atmosphere was already buzzing with the energy of accomplished individuals ready to unwind yet keen to forge or strengthen business alliances. It was in this refined ambience that Emma found herself seated next to Mr. Davis, poised to participate in what was unofficially her debut in the higher echelons of corporate networking. Mr. Davis, normally reserved and strictly professional, seemed to transform with the setting. As the courses came and went, he began to share tales from his early days in the industry, missteps that taught him valuable lessons, challenges that seemed insurmountable at the time but were now recounted with a wry smile. Emma listened, fascinated not just by the stories themselves but by the human aspect of her boss that was slowly unfolding. He wasn't just narrating his successes, he was sharing his journey, complete with pitfalls and peaks. The conversation naturally evolved, turning at times to the lighter side of life outside the boardroom. Mr. Davis joked about his first disastrous attempt at golf with a client, about learning the hard way that not all business deals should be discussed over a hard drink. His laugh was genuine, inviting, and it sparked laughter around the table. Emma found herself chiming in with her own anecdotes, encouraged by Mr. Davis's openness. The dynamic between them shifted subtly from mentor-mentee to something more collegial, a rapport that spoke of mutual respect and shared endeavours. As the evening progressed, the discussion deepened, touching on topics beyond the immediate scope of work. Mr. Davis spoke of the balance he struggled to maintain between his professional and personal life, the sacrifices that came with the territory, and his hopes for the future of the company. Emma felt a connection that went beyond her role at the company. Here was a man who had navigated the labyrinth of corporate success and emerged with his sense of humour and humanity intact. This wasn't just a business dinner, it was a masterclass in leadership and a rare glimpse into the personal ethos of one of the most influential figures in her life. Emma absorbed every story, every piece of advice with a growing realization that success was not just about hard work and strategic thinking, but also about resilience, adaptability, and, crucially, the ability to connect on a human level. As dessert was served and the conversation paused for a moment to appreciate the culinary expertise, Emma reflected on the evening. The formal barrier that usually existed between her and Mr. Davis had lifted slightly, allowing her to see the person behind the title. It was a revelation that made her reassess not only her ambitions, but also the kind of leader she aspired to be. The qualities Mr. Davis displayed, transparency, humour, and a readiness to embrace his past mistakes, were qualities she admired and sought to embody in her own career. The dinner ended with a round of handshakes and promises to follow up on potential deals and collaborations. As they stepped out into the cool evening air, Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose and inspiration. The night had offered her much more than an opportunity to network. It had provided her with insights into the value of authenticity in leadership and the importance of personal connections in navigating the corporate world. Walking back to the hotel, Emma felt a sense of gratitude for the unexpected mentorship Mr. Davis had provided. The evening had not only deepened her understanding of the industry, but had also reshaped her perceptions of what effective leadership looked like. It was a lesson she would carry forward as she continued her journey in the corporate landscape, armed now with a broader vision and a deeper appreciation for the human elements that drive business success. The sudden downpour was almost theatrical in its timing, catching them just as laughter from the evening's dinner still lingered between them. It started as a mere whisper of rain, barely noticed, but swiftly grew into a torrential downpour that had them dashing for the nearest shelter, a small, quaint cafe that seemed to have sprung up just when needed. Inside, the warmth and the rich aroma of coffee enveloped them, a stark contrast to the cool, wet chaos of the outside world. As they settled into the cosy corner of the cafe, the small table between them felt like an island in the midst of a storm. The cafe was dimly lit with soft jazz music playing in the background, giving the space an intimate ambiance that neither of them had anticipated, but both quietly appreciated. Mr. Davis ordered coffees for them both, his familiarity with the menu suggesting he was a regular. The casual ease with which he interacted with the cafe staff added another layer to his persona, one that was markedly more relaxed than the polished executive she was accustomed to seeing in boardrooms. With their coffees steaming gently in front of them, the conversation naturally picked up where it had left off, but there was a shift in the air, a deepening of topics as the outside world seemed to fade away. Mr. Davis, perhaps moved by the intimacy of the setting or the reflective quality of the rain, began to share more personal aspects of his life. He spoke of the challenges balancing a demanding career with personal life, the strains it put on his family, and the sacrifices made along the way. His voice carried a soft note of regret when he mentioned missed birthdays and anniversaries, a side of him Emma had never seen, the cost of his success laid bare. Emma listened, her earlier perceptions of Mr. Davis evolving with every word that offered a glimpse into his vulnerabilities. It was rare to hear someone in his position speak so openly about the not-so-glamorous parts of professional success. Her respect for him deepened, understanding now the complexities of his life beyond the corporate facade. In turn, Emma found herself sharing her own aspirations and fears, the conversation turning into a mutual exchange of dreams and doubts, a shared human experience that transcended their work roles. As they talked, the storm outside seemed to mirror the torrent of confessions and confidences being exchanged inside. The rain beat down in a steady rhythm against the windows, a soothing backdrop to the earnestness of their dialogue. The cafe, with its soft lighting and the occasional clink of coffee cups, felt like a world removed from reality, a temporary sanctuary where barriers could fall and genuine connections could be forged. In this unexpected setting, Mr. Davis showed a side of himself that few probably saw, the man behind the accolades and achievements, someone grappling with the very real consequences of his choices. Emma offered words of comfort, not just as a colleague, but as a friend, someone who could appreciate the depth of his struggles. Their roles faded into the background, replaced by the simple reality of two people, weathering a storm together, both literal and metaphorical. The moment was fleeting, as all such moments are, but it left an indelible mark on Emma. She saw the possibilities of leadership that embraced vulnerability as a strength, not a weakness. She felt inspired to think about her own career path, about the kind of leader she wanted to become. The conversation subtly shifted her trajectory, planting seeds of thought about authenticity in leadership and the courage it took to show one's true self. As the rain began to lighten, signalling a return to the world outside, they both knew something significant had shifted between them. They had shared more than just a shelter from the storm. They had shared a piece of themselves, a moment of true connection that would influence their professional relationship in profound ways. The cafe, a once random refuge, would now always be a landmark in their memories, a place where they became not just boss and employee, but confidants, allies in the complex dance of life and career. As the last notes of the soothing jazz music faded into a quieter moment, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. caught up in the emotional depth of their conversation, the boundary that had subtly thinned between personal connection and professional respect suddenly became blurred. Mr. Davis, perhaps moved by the raw honesty of the evening or misinterpreting the intimacy of their exchange, made a decision that altered the course of the evening in an instant. He leaned in closer across the small table, his face approaching Emma's, and, in a moment, driven by misunderstood signals, attempted to bridge the gap with a kiss. The moment his lips brushed against hers, time seemed to stand still. Emma, caught completely off guard by the advance, recoiled instinctively. The warmth of the cafe was replaced by a cold rush of reality as she pushed back her chair, putting physical space between them. The shock in her eyes was mirrored by the regret that immediately washed over Mr. Davis's face. Realizing the gravity of his mistake, he stuttered an apology, his words tripping over themselves in his haste to express his remorse. "I'm so sorry, Emma. I misread. I shouldn't have. That was inappropriate," he managed to say, each word heavy with the understanding of the line he had just crossed. Emma, still reeling from the unexpected breach of their professional dynamic, nodded stiffly, her mind racing with the implications of what had just occurred. The trust and camaraderie that had been building throughout the evening felt tainted, overshadowed by a single impulsive act that could not be undone. The ride back to the hotel was marked by a heavy silence. Both were lost in their thoughts, grappling with the consequences of a moment that had changed the nature of their relationship irrevocably. Mr. Davis ventured an apology once more, his voice low and sincere. "Emma, I truly am sorry. It won't happen again. I hope we can move past this and continue to work together with professionalism." Emma, her emotions still a tumult of disappointment and confusion, simply nodded, unsure of how they could return to the easy rapport they once shared. Back at work, the dynamic had undoubtedly shifted. There was an unspoken agreement to bury the incident, to not allow it to surface in their professional interactions. However, the air was thick with an awkwardness that was hard to ignore. Emma found herself second-guessing her interactions, ensuring they were strictly professional, avoiding any situation that could lead to misinterpretations. Mr. Davis, for his part, maintained a respectful distance, his demeanour tinged with a formality that spoke volumes of his regret and his desire to restore a sense of normalcy. This experience, though jarring, became a catalyst for Emma to reassess her boundaries and her professional relationships. She became more vigilant about maintaining a clear line between personal and professional interactions, not just with Mr. Davis, but with all her colleagues. The incident highlighted the importance of setting and adhering to boundaries, of ensuring that her professional environment remained respectful and comfortable for everyone involved. Emma also took this opportunity to focus on her career development outside the shadow of her relationship with Mr. Davis. She sought mentorship from other leaders within the company, broadening her network and establishing herself as a capable professional in her own right. The lessons she learned from the incident about vulnerability, professionalism, and personal growth shaped her into a more confident and assertive leader. As time passed, the initial discomfort eased somewhat. Emma and Mr. Davis found a new equilibrium, one that respected the lessons of the past while allowing them to move forward. Their interactions, though forever changed, retained a level of professionalism and mutual respect. Emma's career continued to flourish, her reputation strengthened not just by her skills, but also by her integrity and her commitment to maintaining a respectful and professional workplace. The incident with Mr. Davis remained a significant chapter in her story, a reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the continuous need for awareness and understanding in every interaction. It taught her the importance of resilience and the value of a well-defined professional boundary, lessons that she carried with her as she navigated the challenges and opportunities of her career. The transition back to the familiar corridors of the office was marked by a palpable shift in the air, a change both subtle and profound. Each step taken was a deliberate effort to navigate the new dynamics that now defined the relationship between Emma and Mr. Davis. The once easy and mentor-like exchanges were replaced with interactions that were cordial yet distinctly marked by an underlying caution, a mutual recognition of boundaries that should never again be tested. In the wake of the incident, Emma found herself more introspective, more attuned to the nuances of office dynamics and the importance of maintaining a clear line between personal and professional realms. The experience, though deeply uncomfortable, served as a potent catalyst for personal growth and professional development. It forced Emma to reassess not only her career trajectory, but also the environments in which she allowed herself to operate. Determined not to be defined by a moment of vulnerability, Emma actively sought out new mentors within the company. These were leaders whose careers she had long admired, not just for their professional achievements, but also for their commitment to fostering a healthy workplace culture. Through these new mentorships, she gained not only valuable insights into various aspects of the business, but also strategies for navigating complex workplace relationships with grace and integrity. As Emma expanded her network, she also began to take on more prominent projects, ones that challenged her and allowed her to showcase her capabilities. With each successful initiative, her confidence grew, but more importantly, so did her understanding of how to assert her value in a professional setting effectively. She became a vocal advocate for clear communication and mutual respect in all team interactions, qualities that gradually became hallmarks of her leadership style. The incident with Mr. Davis, now a distant yet indelible memory, reminded Emma of the importance of advocating for oneself. It taught her that professional boundaries are not just guidelines, but essential frameworks within which healthy professional relationships can flourish. Emma's commitment to these principles did not go unnoticed. Her peers and supervisors began to regard her not only as a competent professional, but as a burgeoning leader, someone capable of navigating the complexities of corporate life with a rare blend of empathy and assertiveness. As Emma's career progressed, so did her role within the company. She found herself at the helm of new initiatives, leading teams on high-stake projects with a focus not only on achieving business goals, but also on promoting team well-being and personal development. Her leadership style, shaped by the lessons learned from that pivotal business trip, was characterized by open communication, respect for individual boundaries, and a deep understanding of the diverse motivations that drive people. Reflecting on her journey, Emma realized that the uncomfortable situation with Mr. Davis had inadvertently propelled her into a phase of rapid personal growth and professional redefinition. It had forced her to confront and overcome personal doubts and to redefine what it meant to be a leader in a modern corporate environment. The experience had, in many ways, stripped away her naivete about the corporate world, but had replaced it with a robust, well-informed perspective on how to navigate its challenges while remaining true to her values. As she prepared to lead a major new project, Emma felt a sense of readiness that went beyond professional preparedness. It was a deep-seated knowledge that she was no longer the same person who had sat across from Mr. Davis in that cafe, vulnerable and uncertain. She was now a leader in her own right, equipped not only with the skills, but with the moral compass to guide her team toward not just success, but meaningful, respectful, and fulfilling professional engagement. This new chapter, while rooted in lessons learned from past challenges, looked forward with optimism and a renewed commitment to integrity and respect in all aspects of her professional life. Emma knew that her journey would continue to evolve, with each step informed by her experiences and each decision reflective of her dedication to nurturing a positive and productive work environment.